You did what to Earth? Ambassador Chen's voice carried the kind of deadly calm that made even the most seasoned diplomats reach for their environmental controls to check if the room temperature had suddenly plummeted. The Xthari representatives' tentacles twisted nervously as they adjusted their universal translator. We merely implemented standard containment protocols for potentially disruptive species. The force field around your solar system is temporary. A mere century or two until your species demonstrates sufficient behavioral modification. I see. Chen's smile didn't reach her eyes. And you didn't think to, I don't know, ask first? Your species has a documented history of aggressive expansion and resource exploitation. The Council deemed it prudent to act preemptively. Aggressive expansion? Chen laughed. But it wasn't a pleasant sound. We hadn't even colonized Mars properly yet. The most aggressive thing we've done in space is crash land a few robots on various celestial bodies. Usually accidentally. The Xthari's translator crackled as they attempted to explain galactic protocol, but Chen had already pulled out her quantum-linked communicator. The entire Galactic Council chamber fell silent as she typed, her perfectly manicured nails clicking against the holographic interface with military precision. Ambassador, the Council Elder began. Perhaps we could discuss— Oh, we're well past discussion. Chen looked up from her device. I've just informed Earth about our situation. Would you like to know how humans typically respond to being cornered? The council chamber erupted in overlapping translator frequencies as various species tried to speak simultaneously. The Xthari representatives' tentacles had gone from nervous twisting to full-on pretzel configuration. Please understand, the elder tried again. The containment field is quite impenetrable. Your species simply needs to demonstrate peaceful intentions for a few decades and— A warning klaxon cut through the chamber. The massive holographic display at the center of the room flickered to life, showing multiple approaching vessels that definitely hadn't been there a moment ago. That's impossible, someone whispered. They were contained within their solar system. Chen smiled again, and this time it reached her eyes. Here's something you should know about humans. We're really, really good at keeping secrets. Like the fact that we cracked FTL travel 30 years ago and have been quietly building a fleet ever since. We just didn't want to deal with all the paperwork of officially joining the galactic community. The vessels on display were growing larger by the second. Their design was unlike anything the Council had seen before, all sharp angles and matte black surfaces that seemed to drink in the light. But since you brought up our history of aggressive expansion, Chen continued, examining her nails, let me tell you about a little human tradition called malicious compliance. You see, if you tell humans they can't do something, not only will they figure out how to do it anyway, they'll do it in the most spectacularly annoying way possible. The first of the human vessels had reached the Council station. It was massive, at least 3 times the size of anything the Council races had built, and emblazoned across its hull in letters visible even from the chamber windows was a name that made several Council members check their translators for errors. USS, Sorry Not Sorry. That's Captain Rodriguez's ship, Chen commented casually. She has a unique sense of humor. The rest of the fleet should be arriving any minute now. I believe Admiral Zhang named his flagship the USS Well, actually. She paused thoughtfully. Though I'm particularly fond of Commander Patel's choice, USS Come At Me Bro. The Council Elder's chromatic scales had shifted to a pale shade of panic. Ambassador, please, what are your demands? Oh, nothing unreasonable. First, you're going to take down that containment field. Then, we're going to have a nice long chat about updating your standard protocols for first contact scenarios. Also, she added, pulling up another holographic display, we're going to need you to sign this. What? What is it? A receipt acknowledging that you've received our official application to join the Galactic Council. Backdated, of course. Can't have any unauthorized vessels in Council space now, can we? We're very law-abiding citizens. The chamber had gone so quiet you could hear the subtle hum of the station's artificial gravity generators. Outside the windows, more human ships continued to appear, each bearing increasingly creative names that the translators struggled to handle appropriately. But how did you hide all of this? The Xthari finally managed to ask. Chen's expression shifted to something between amusement and pity. You really don't know much about humans, do you? We're the species that invented stage magic as entertainment. Misdirection is practically our cultural heritage. While everyone was watching our clumsy attempts to reach Mars, nobody bothered to look at what we were doing in the asteroid belt, or behind the moon. Or in that lovely blank spot in your sensor network near Neptune. She stood up, smoothing her impeccable diplomatic uniform. Now, shall we discuss the terms of our membership? I believe Captain Rodriguez is especially eager to demonstrate some of our fleet's capabilities. She mentioned something about using the containment field generators for target practice. The council elder's scales shifted through several colors before settling on a resigned gray. The containment field will be deactivated immediately. Wonderful. Chen's smile was now positively radiant. Oh, and one more thing. We're going to need parking validation for the fleet. Some of our ships are double parked in the diplomatic vessel bay, and we're very serious about following proper procedures. As the council scrambled to comply with the humans' demands, Chen settled back into her chair and opened her communicator again. The message she typed was brief. Operation Surprise Party is a go. Tell the fleet they can stop pretending to be intimidating now. Yes, even the USS come at me, bro. Moments later, the massive warships outside began to transform. Panels shifted, revealing gardens, observation decks, and what appeared to be several restaurants. The USS Sorry Not Sorry deployed what was unmistakably a waterslide from its port side. Did you turn your warships into cruise liners? The elder asked faintly. Of course not, Chen replied. We turned our cruise liners into warships. Temporarily. Like I said, malicious compliance. You wanted us to demonstrate peaceful intentions? She gestured to the fleet, where the USS Come At Me Bro was now advertising an all-you-can-eat buffet. Consider this our peace offering. We're throwing a party, and the whole galaxy's invited. She leaned forward, her expression serious for the first time. But remember, we can turn them back just as quickly. So, about those first contact protocols. The Council learned 3 important lessons that day. Never underestimate humanity's capacity for innovation. Never assume their technology level based on their public space program. And most importantly, never give humans a reason to say challenge accepted. As for the containment field generators, they were repurposed into what became the galaxy's largest laser tag arena. Captain Rodriguez insisted, something about making sure they didn't go to waste. The Galactic Council never again implemented a containment protocol without prior consultation. They also updated their species assessment criteria to include a new category, probability of turning military technology into entertainment venues. Humans naturally scored off the charts. Years later, a plaque would be installed in the council chamber commemorating the event. It read simply, "On this day, humanity demonstrated that the best defense against containment is a good offense. And the best offense is sometimes a really great party." Below it, someone had added in smaller text. P.S. The USS Come At Me Bros buffet is still undefeated in the annual Galactic Cuisine Championships. The universe had indeed learned to fear humans, not for their capacity for war, but for their uncanny ability to turn any attempt to control them into an opportunity for celebration. As Chen would often say in her later years as council president, the galaxy expected space pirates. Instead, they got space party planners with a militarized sense of hospitality. And somehow that was so much more terrifying. And that's how we accidentally started the Intergalactic Olympics, Chen explained to the wide-eyed group of diplomatic trainees. The holographic display behind her showed footage of the now famous Great Space Station remodeling incident, where the former containment field control center had been transformed into what could only be described as a combination of an extreme sports venue and a diplomatic summit facility. One of the trainees, a young diplomat from New Mars, raised her hand. But Ambassador, what happened after the initial, cruise ship revelation? Chen's eyes sparkled with the kind of mischief that had become legendary in council space. Oh, that's when things got really interesting. You see, once you convince an entire galactic civilization that you've militarized hospitality, you have to keep delivering on that promise. 6 months after Operation Surprise Party, the Galactic Council faced its first major crisis involving the newly integrated human fleet. The Drachnid Empire, a traditionally isolationist species from the galaxy's outer rim, had decided to test humanity's unusual approach to diplomatic relations. "They've surrounded the USS Come At Me Bro," Admiral Zhang reported, his holographic image flickering slightly in the council chamber. But Captain Patel seems unusually pleased about this development. Chen wasn't surprised. Has she activated the special protocols yet? 3 minutes ago. The Drachnids are confused. On the main display, the situation unfolded in real time. The USS Come At Me Bro, surrounded by Drachnid warships, had begun what could only be described as a transformation sequence that would make any mecha anime proud. The ship's hull shifted, panels rotating and extending until... Is that a Ferris wheel? The council elder's scales had developed a twitch. Among other things, Chen confirmed. Captain Patel insisted that if we were going to maintain our reputation for militarized hospitality, we needed to be prepared for impromptu space fares. The entire ship can convert into an amusement park in under 5 minutes. The Drachnid fleet's formation had begun to waver as their sensors tried to make sense of what they were seeing. Their confusion only increased when the USS Sorry Not Sorry arrived. Its water slides now configured into what appeared to be an elaborate water park that somehow functioned in zero gravity. "Admiral Rodriguez sends her regards," Zhang reported, barely containing his grin. "She's asking if the Drachnids would like to participate in the inaugural Space Coast Water Park Championship. Winner gets naming rights to the next human-designed diplomatic entertainment venue." Chen leaned back in her chair, watching as the Drachnid ship's weapons powered down one by one. "How long until they accept the invitation?" "Based on current readings of their communication frequencies, I'd say they're already arguing over who gets to go first on the slides." The council elder had given up trying to maintain their dignified posture. "Ambassador Chen, while I appreciate humanity's unique approach to diplomatic relations, don't you think this is becoming a bit excessive?" "Elder," Chen replied with practiced patience. "In the 6 months since we joined the council, interspecies tensions have dropped by 60%, trade has increased by 80%, and we've established the galaxy's first zero-gravity culinary school, all because we refuse to choose between being intimidating and being entertaining." She gestured to the display, where several Drachnid ships were now carefully maneuvering into what appeared to be designated parking spots around the transformed human vessels. "Besides, would you rather they were shooting at each other?" "I suppose not." "Exactly. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to contact Earth. The Diplomatic Party Planning Committee is going to want to update their contingency protocols. Apparently, we need to account for species with exoskeletons in our water park safety guidelines. The next few years saw a revolution in galactic diplomatic relations. Human vessels, with their ability to transform from imposing warships to luxury entertainment venues, became the preferred hosts for everything from trade negotiations to cultural exchanges. The USS Come At Me Bros buffet not only remained undefeated but sparked a renaissance in cross-species cuisine. But perhaps the most significant change came in how the galaxy viewed humanity. The species that had been contained out of fear of their aggressive expansion had somehow managed to conquer the galaxy anyway. Not through force, but through an aggressive commitment to having a good time and bringing everyone along for the ride. The Diplomatic Party Planning Committee, once a joke among the more traditional council members, became one of the most influential organizations in galactic politics. Their handbook, From Warships to Welcome Parties, a guide to militarized hospitality, became required reading for all diplomatic trainees. Chen herself would later reflect that humanity's greatest achievement wasn't their hidden fleet, or their technological prowess, but rather their ability to make the entire galaxy reconsider what strength really meant. "Anyone can build a weapon," she would often say in her lectures, "but it takes real skill to turn that weapon into a water slide and convince your former enemies to join you for a pool party." Back in the present, the young diplomat from New Mars had one more question. "Ambassador Chen, what happened to the original containment field generators? The ones that were turned into the laser tag arena?" Chen's smile turned enigmatic. "Oh, those? They're still there. But now they generate something far more powerful than any containment field." "What's that?" "Fun." Chen winked. "Though we did keep one section configured for actual containment. We call it the timeout corner. It's where we put diplomatic delegates who can't play nice with others. Current record holder is the Zexthari representative who tried to implement another containment protocol last year. They spent 3 hours in there before agreeing to attend mandatory team-building exercises." "On the USS Come At Me, bro?" "Of course. Captain Patel runs a mean trust fall workshop. In zero gravity, naturally." As the trainees filed out of the lecture hall, Chen's communicator chimed with a priority message. The Drachnids were requesting permission to host the next Galactic Cuisine Championships. They had apparently developed a fusion cuisine combining their traditional crystalline nutrients with human comfort food. Chen approved the request immediately. After all, if humanity had learned anything from their adventures in galactic diplomacy, it was that the best way to keep the peace was to keep the party going. And if anyone else tried to contain humanity, well, there were still plenty of containment field generators that could be repurposed into entertainment venues. The universe hadn't just learned to fear humans. It had learned to look forward to their invitations. Because when humanity lost their temper, they didn't just get even. They threw a party about it. And somehow that had made all the difference. Emergency Council Session HFWT-47 is now in session, the automated system announced. The chamber's holographic displays flickered to life, showing a situation that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. Ambassador Chen sat at her usual place, maintaining her composure despite the chaos unfolding on the screens. Beside her, Admiral Zhang was attempting to explain the current crisis to the increasingly agitated council. To be clear, Zhang stated, the Drachnids haven't actually declared war. They've declared a hospitality competition. The council elder's scales cycled through several colors before settling on a confused mauve. Please elaborate. They've constructed their own transforming diplomatic vessel, Chen explained, pulling up the relevant footage. They're calling it the DSS Hold My Beverage. The ship on display was impressive, a sleek, crystalline structure that seemed to incorporate elements of both Drachnid and human design philosophy. As they watched, it transformed into what appeared to be a combination zero-gravity crystal garden and concert venue. That's not the problem, Zhang continued. The problem is that everyone else has started doing it too. The Xthari have launched what they're calling a mobile diplomatic enrichment platform. It's basically a flying zoo/botanical garden that doubles as a meditation retreat. Chen pulled up another display. The Andromedans have converted their entire defense fleet into what they're calling mobile cultural exchange centers. Each one specializes in a different form of entertainment or education. Even the traditionally militant Proxima Coalition has gotten in on the act. They've refitted their dreadnoughts with gourmet restaurants and sports facilities. The elder's scales had settled into a resigned pink. You're telling me that humanity's approach to diplomatic relations has sparked an arms race? Of hospitality, yes, Chen confirmed. We're calling it the H-race. It's like an arms race, but instead of competing to build better weapons, everyone's competing to build better party venues. The USS Come At Me Bro is still leading in the culinary division, Zhang added proudly, though the Drachnid's crystal fusion cuisine is gaining popularity. Their zero-gravity sushi garden is particularly impressive. The elder sighed deeply. And this is causing a crisis because we're running out of parking space, Chen explained. Every major diplomatic hub in council space is overwhelmed with vessels trying to host simultaneous events. The Centauri system had to implement a waiting list for species wanting to show off their new entertainment facilities. Additionally, Zhang continued, we're seeing some escalation in the complexity of these venues. The Proxima Coalition recently unveiled a ship that can transform into a full-scale opera house, complete with anti-gravity orchestra pit. The Andromedans responded by converting one of their carriers into what they're calling a quantum theater. Apparently, the plays exist in multiple states simultaneously until observed. And don't even get me started on what the Xthari did with their latest diplomatic vessel, Chen added. They somehow managed to create a spa that operates in 11 dimensions. We're still trying to figure out how to properly regulate that. The council chamber erupted in overlapping discussions as various representatives argued over scheduling conflicts and venue priorities. Chen watched it all with an expression that mixed pride and mild concern. Perhaps, the elder suggested hopefully, we could implement some form of regulation, a treaty limiting the scale of diplomatic entertainment venues. Chen's smile was diplomatic but firm. With all due respect, Elder, I don't think trying to contain this situation would be wise. We all remember what happened last time someone tried to contain humanity's activities. But surely, besides, she continued, consider the alternatives. 5 years ago, these species were building weapons of mass destruction. Now they're competing to create the most impressive entertainment venues. The biggest diplomatic crisis we face is managing reservation systems and ensuring everyone gets fair access to the quantum theater. Zhang nodded in agreement. The USS Sorry Not Sorry had to expand its water park 3 times in the past month just to keep up with demand. Captain Rodriguez is talking about adding a section that simulates surfing on a neutron star. Is that even possible? The elder asked. Probably not, but watching them try to figure it out should be entertaining. Chen stood, smoothing her uniform with practiced grace. I have a proposal that might help address the immediate crisis. Earth has been developing something we call the Diplomatic Exchange Network, a standardized system for coordinating and scheduling diplomatic entertainment events across council space. She gestured, and a new hologram appeared, a complex web of interconnected venues and travel routes. We can establish dedicated lanes for diplomatic vessels, implement a fair booking system for venues, and even create a rating system for different types of entertainment facilities. And humanity would manage this system? The Elder's scales showed skepticism. Actually, we thought it would be better if it were a joint venture, each major species contributing their expertise. The Drachnid's experience with crystalline computing would be invaluable for the database architecture. The xenobiology's multi-dimensional engineering could help with traffic management. The Andromedans' quantum theaters have given them unique insights into probability management. The chamber grew quiet as the implications sank in. It was, in its way, a masterpiece of diplomatic maneuvering, giving everyone a stake in the system while ensuring cooperation was both necessary and profitable. There is, of course, one other benefit, Chen added casually. With a proper network in place, we could organize the first truly galactic-scale festival. Something that would allow every species to showcase their unique contributions to the hospitality arms race. The Elder's scales shifted to a thoughtful blue. You already have a name for this festival, don't you? The working title is Universe's Got Talent, Diplomatic Edition, though personally I'm partial to So You Think You Can Host. In the years that followed, the hospitality arms race would be remembered as the beginning of a new era in galactic relations. The Diplomatic Exchange Network, or DEN, became the backbone of interstellar cooperation. Ships that had once been designed to destroy worlds now competed to create the most memorable experiences for visitors from across the galaxy. The USS Come At Me Bro maintained its reputation for culinary excellence, though it eventually had to share the spotlight with venues like the Drachnid's DSS Hold My Beverage and the Xethari's multi-dimensional meditation retreats. Captain Patel would later write in her memoirs that this was exactly as it should be. After all, she noted, the point was never to be the best at hospitality, but to make everyone want to try. The annual Galactic Festival of Diplomatic Entertainment became the most anticipated event in Council space. The sight of former warships transforming into increasingly elaborate venues became so common that younger species often had trouble believing there was a time when these vessels had been designed for war rather than welcome. And at the heart of it all, humanity's fleet continued to lead by example. The USS Sorry Not Sorry did eventually figure out how to simulate surfing on a neutron star, though the resulting attraction came with so many warning labels and liability waivers that it was practically a legal document with a water park attached. As for Ambassador Chen, she would later reflect that humanity's greatest victory wasn't in avoiding containment, or even in transforming galactic military doctrine. It was in proving that the most powerful force in the universe wasn't fear, or war, or even advanced technology. It was the simple, universal desire to show off one's hosting skills. After all, she would often say, you can't stay angry at someone who just offered you their best attempt at making you feel welcome, even if that attempt involves an 11-dimensional spa day, or a quantum theater performance where the ending depends on the mood of the audience. The universe had indeed learned to fear humans, not for their weapons or their cunning, but for their uncanny ability to turn any competition into a reason to throw an even bigger party. And in the end, that fear had transformed into something far more powerful, an invitation to join in the fun. Historical Archives, Galactic Council Records, date, 50 years after first human integration. The holographic display in the Grand Archives of the Diplomatic Exchange Network illuminated the chamber with a soft blue glow as Ambassador Chen's successor, Ambassador Sarah Martinez Chen, no relation, though both found the coincidence amusing, prepared to address the graduating class of the Galactic Diplomatic Academy. You're all familiar with the stories, she began, gesturing to the ancient footage playing behind her. Images of the USS Come At Me Bro's legendary first transformation and the subsequent hospitality revolution. But today, I want to tell you about what happened after the hospitality arms race reached its logical conclusion. The display shifted, showing a massive structure that dwarfed even the largest diplomatic vessels. This is, or rather was, the pinnacle of the H-race era, the Grand Concordat of unified festivities, or as it was more commonly known, the party to end all parties. It had started, as many revolutionary ideas did in those days, with a seemingly innocent suggestion from the human delegation. The concept was simple. Instead of continuing to compete with ever more elaborate transforming vessels, why not combine their resources to create something truly unprecedented? The result was a cooperative engineering project that made the original containment field look like a child's science fair project. Every major species contributed their unique expertise: human adaptability and entertainment innovation, Drachnid crystalline architecture, Xenobology, multi-dimensional engineering, Andromedan quantum performance spaces, and dozens more. The structure itself defied conventional physics, Martinez Chen explained, manipulating the hologram to show different angles. The Drachnid's crystal lattices created spaces that could reconfigure themselves based on visitors' cultural preferences. The Xenobology's dimensional engineering allowed for venues that could accommodate any number of species simultaneously, regardless of their native environmental requirements. She paused, allowing the students to absorb the scale of what they were seeing. But the true innovation wasn't in the technology, it was in what happened next. The Grand Concordat became more than just a venue. It evolved into a living symbol of galactic cooperation. Species that had once competed to outdo each other in hospitality now worked together to create experiences that no single civilization could have achieved alone. The human tradition of dinner and a show took on new meaning when the dinner existed in 11 dimensions, and the show incorporated quantum uncertainty principles. The Drachnid's crystal fusion cuisine found its perfect complement in Andromedan probability waves, creating dishes that could simultaneously satisfy every possible taste preference. But it was the unexpected consequences that truly transformed galactic society. We called it the diplomatic singularity, Martinez Chen continued, bringing up new data streams, the point at which the distinction between diplomatic relations and cultural exchange became meaningless. When every interaction between species became an opportunity for celebration and cooperation. The evidence was in the numbers. Interspecies trade had increased by orders of magnitude. Cultural exchange programs had become so common that most species now considered them a basic right rather than a privilege. Even the concept of war had been fundamentally altered. The few conflicts that did arise were increasingly settled through what became known as competitive hospitality challenges. The last major diplomatic incident, she noted with a slight smile, was resolved through what the historical records describe as an aggressively friendly cook-off. The Proxima Coalition and the Andromedan Alliance spent 3 weeks trying to outdo each other with increasingly elaborate fusion cuisine. The only casualties were a few overambitious food critics and one quantum stove that achieved sentience. The students chuckled, but Martinez Chen's expression turned thoughtful. But the most significant change came in how we viewed ourselves as a galactic community. The original containment field had been built on fear of humanity's potential for disruption. She gestured to the vast expanse of the Grand Concordat visible through the archive's windows. You see, we learned something important from all of this. The universe didn't just learn to fear humanity's capacity for turning confrontation into celebration. It learned to embrace it, to build on it, to transform it into something none of us could have imagined alone. The containment field was meant to isolate humanity until we demonstrated sufficient behavioral modification. In a way, it worked. Just not in the way anyone expected. We modified our behavior by showing the galaxy a better way to interact. And the galaxy, much to everyone's surprise, decided they preferred parties to politics. Remember that as you begin your diplomatic careers, she concluded. The most powerful force in the universe isn't technology or military might, or even the ability to throw the best parties. It's the ability to turn fear into friendship, competition into cooperation, and containment into connection. Though, she added with a wink, being able to throw a good party certainly doesn't hurt. As the students filed out, Martinez Chen's communicator chimed with a priority message. The Xenobology were proposing a new addition to the Grand Concordat, something involving synchronized quantum dance floors and crystalline anti-gravity chambers. She approved it immediately. After all, the diplomatic singularity had taught them all an important lesson. There was always room for one more impossibility in the name of galactic harmony. The universe had indeed learned to fear humans. But more importantly, it had learned to celebrate with them. And that, as it turned out, made all the difference in the cosmos. The end.